Good morning and welcome to the fresh edition of my live comments. The world witnessed a strange phenomena. Two world leaders, both diametrically opposed, had been indulging in calling each other a little rocket man and a dotard, meaning senile old man, have agreed to meet, and the meeting is likely to be before the end of May. This is likely to be a historic meeting. This is going to be a meeting between two heads of state, serving heads, who have never met. There are many miles to go before the meeting takes place. But why is this meeting important? It is extremely important because history is likely to be made in case the meeting takes place. If it fails, the result is war. If it is successful, it shall be a great boon to the world for saving it from war, and both Trump and Kim Jong-un would get a praise that very few people have ever got. Would it be like the Chamberlains capitulating, or would it be assertion of American might? Why is it important? First reason why it's important is that Trump is fond of publicity and he wants to leave a shining legacy. He, more than any other US president, is likely to meet Kim and come to something decisive, because that would be a lasting legacy. He would be remembered as the US president who brought peace to the world. He'll be like Washington, who gave freedom. He'll be like Lincoln, who gave freedom to the blacks. He would be like Roosevelt, who won the Second World War, cleaned the world out of Nazi and fascism, and then, gracious as he was, launched New Deal to revive broken down, fragmented, poverty-stricken Europe. So that's the first thing, that it's important because it's going to provide Trump a platform for leaving a legacy. Secondly, North Korea has established credible nuclear deterrence, and that compels US to take it seriously. The guarantee would be that Kim's family will be protected in any deal. There will be no revenge on the family. Thirdly, it shows that US sanctions definitely have some effect, and Kim cannot let the sanctions become crippling, because that can give birth to an internal dissension and revolt. Fourthly, Kim appears to trust South Korean President Moon more than his predecessors. As a matter of fact, Moon deserves a lot of credit for breaking this ice between North Korea and USA. And fifthly is that Kim today is in a position who can really save North Korea. He can go into negotiations with US without having to depend on China. So this is giving Kim a chance to get over the hegemony of China. Till now, China has been dictating it. And Kim has reminded China that China needs Kim more than Kim needs China. And he has to be thankful that 60 years of slavish attitude towards China has not paid. In fact, in case the meeting is successful, it will be a big blow to the Chinese. Their power would diminish not only on South Korea, but on other members of the communist bloc as well. And their hopes of penetrating South Korea would decrease. North Korea, they think they have been controlling, and now by its assertion, it is showing that Chinese dragon has lost the fight. North Korea never liked China for dictating terms to him. And now Kim has made clear that he will take dictation from no one, whether it's President Xi or is President Trump. So this is historically going to be an important one. And these 5 reasons show why it is extremely, extremely useful. One thing still that is not known is where the meeting shall take place. But before we come to that, let's call this a Korean miracle. Why? It's a meeting of the mavericks. Mutual abuse, giving way to a meeting, a gracious meeting. And what would be the effect on East Asia as a whole? As Moon calls it, unfolding political miracle, but it also exemplifies another thing. In the word diplomacy, there are no permanent enemies and there are no permanent friends. As I said just now, in case the meeting is successful, the friendship between China and North Korea is going to be a fairy tale. Once upon a time, they were very close. And 95% of the North Korean trade was with China. That would give place to possibly 80% trade of North Korea would be with USA. Secondly, North Korea, the sanctions are crippling it, and naturally, sanctions would be replaced by economic aid. Not only trade, but aid to revive the economy. And Kim would have earned the gratitude of the North Koreans for arranging that aid without compromising national security. By the very fact that he has established beyond any doubt that it's a nuclear power, he might even agree to denuclearize to give Trump the validity of giving him more aid. You know what happened in Iran. You know what happened all over. When these powers, like America, they sign a deal, they think it's incumbent on them to give much more in return than they have taken. So, quite possible that Trump might give away the complete farm to Kim instead of giving him a part of the produce. But Trump is bullish. And he thinks that he's going to have the greatest deal the world has ever seen. There's no hiding the fact that China is not happy. And quite possible in the next 2 months, China might play a trump card. And that trump card can be disastrous. Ultimately, the disaster shall be for the world. In the beginning, only North Korea, South Korea, Japan, maybe world. There's another problem, That is Japan. Japan is extremely worried. For a long time, it has been the end of aggressive North Korean actions. And Japan, that's why, has always been pressing a very hard deal. Very hard deal. But now the things being there, a Trump deal could leave, possibly, that North Korea retains its present missile capability, and as a result, USA might withdraw its 28,000 forces from North Korea, as well as reduce its involvement in East Asia. It's quite possible that it might also lead Japan to its own fortunes. And that is why you would hear in the next few days that Prime Minister Abe is making a dash to Washington to meet with Trump before the meeting with Kim takes place. And then, we are aware that President Xi is no fan of Kim, nor is Kim a fan of Xi. So what role Kim plays to get rid of Xi and what role Xi plays to influence Trump is yet to be seen. Quite possible President Xi might indirectly convey to President Trump that he should adopt an extremely hard line, because adoption of an extremely hard line can make Kim go berserk. This unruly young man is capable of anything. And in case there's lifting of sanctions and delivering economic assistance, not only at the US level, but at the international level, for a verifiable freeze, would change the politics of the region absolutely. And, another thing which nobody has thought of is that the reunification of North Korea and South Korea might become a near possibility. One thing definite is there, that in case this meeting is successful, the Korean War of 1950 to 53 would lead to a sort of a peace agreement. Till now they are officially at war, both North Korea and South Korea. Officially there has been no peace agreement. So quite possible that DMZ, the demilitarized zone, might become either a border and also a soft border as a first step towards an agreement. Now, Trump is different from his predecessors. He's quite skeptical of alliances. He doesn't want friendships. He has insisted that America's rich allies in Europe must contribute for their defense. At one time, he also argued that South Korea and Japan should have nuclear weapons to defend themselves against North Korea. So his stress on burden sharing and America first could definitely affect the world order, and it would. Now, India has not been paying much attention to that. As a matter of fact, I was thinking that Prime Minister Modi would offer his good offices to offer Delhi as a place of the meeting, because the place has not been decided. And India would have could have played a major role in a different set of geopolitical situation in East Asia. Now, where the meeting would take place? Would it take place in DMZ, the demilitarized zone? Would it take place in Mongolia, in Ulaanbaatar? Would it take place on a ship in sea, the way Roosevelt, Stalin, and Churchill had met at Jalta? This is a nightmare, basically, for the people who have to pick a menu. At present, Mongolia and Sweden both have offered to host this meeting. Seoul, South Korean capital, has sent a message that they want the meeting to be held at Peace House. Beijing can also offer to be the global mediator. And then there's always Switzerland. But then the point is, where would those two people feel safe? This is not a typical situation. Kim has not left North Korea since taking power. And a Trump visit to isolated North Korea is going to be logistic chaos. So let's say look at the potential places. First is Washington. Kim hopes for the world to see his country as equal to United States. So that can possibly make him visit USA on a state visit, received by Trump, right on the lawns of the DC, and thereby send a message to the people in North Korea that he is at par with this person. Meeting US President on equal footing would be the highest level of recognition. Then Trump, as a matter of fact, once said that he'll be willing to go to North Korea or invite him to have a meeting. So he can be quite happy to meet him in Washington or go to Pyongyang and make a visit over there. A presidential visit to North Korea would give Kim greater legitimacy and an aspect that Trump wants to avoid. US president don't travel lightly. The security details are too many. So that may not be possible. Third country place can only be Asia or Europe. As I said, China has offered the host. But though Xi calls Kim a friend, Kim doesn't call him a good man. So China has already annoyed Kim, so he may not accept it. Former Mongolian president has tweeted an offer to meet in his country the most suitable neutral territory. It doesn't have the grandeur. People don't know where Ulaanbaatar is. Then Singapore is one place where they can meet. This was also a place where President Xi met with the Taiwan president for the first time in history. It's a neutral venue. Europe, especially Sweden, as it has offered, and Switzerland are possible. But at present, the secret services don't want anywhere. They don't want Peace Village of Panmunjom, where the North and South Korea are holding talks. South Korean resort islands of Jeju is a possibility. DMZ is a possibility because then no country loses face. But wherever the meeting takes place, one thing is sure, it is going to be of momentous value. The meeting would decide peace or war forever. And if it's a war, then it's going to be catastrophic war. US might have some moral inhibitions about using nuclear weapons in an all-out war that can destroy the complete environment of the world. But North Korea would have no compunction in throwing its lot of 50 nuclear bombs on either USA or its allies like South Korea, Japan, Philippines, and Guam. Let's see how the history unfolds. Thank you.